Hey guys, it's Krystal. So I have an exciting review for you today. I'm going to be reviewing the new Becca Ultimate Coverage Complexion Cream Foundation. This is what it looks like. So I got mine from Sephora.com. Now basically I stock the Sephora website weekly. I stock the new arrivals section. Like I just want to see what new products they get, and I'm constantly looking at that. So when this foundation first appeared in the new section, I wanted to buy it right away, but I kind of hesitated just because it was $44, and my local Sephora's don't carry Becca, so I can't just go into the store and get a sample and test it out. So it's kind of like taking a chance ordering a color online. What I like about the Becca brand is they have a large color selection. So in this particular foundation, they have 20 colors. So the majority of people will probably be able to find their shade. The other nice thing is they have a description of each shade, so it makes it easier to kind of pick a shade online, and it's not always accurate, but it does help when they have a description. So for instance, I got the color in Shell, and they described this as, Shell is described as a fair beige with neutral undertones, and I think this is a really good color match for me. So I'm really glad that I picked this one. I also have another Becca foundation. It's the matte foundation, and I feel like I got a pretty good color when I selected that one online as well. So I've heard people say that the color descriptions on there weren't quite accurate, but for me, I picked the right color for me, so I'm really happy about that. So first I'm going to talk about the packaging. I really like the packaging on this. It's just kind of slim, it's tall, it's sleek. I like the chrome top. I really like the pump on this because you can control how much foundation you want to pump out. You can do one full pump, you can do a half a pump, you can do one tiny little drop. So it's really a nice pump because you can control how much product you get out. So the other thing that's really cool about this pump is it doesn't extend all the way down into the packaging, which is really cool. So it has some kind of cool like suction technology. I don't know, but it works. It works really well. Now I just wonder once it gets down towards the bottom if it's going to be able to suck all that foundation up to the top. So I'm really curious about that. I probably have, let's see, I have quite a lot of foundation left. I've used it quite a bit and there's still a lot left. So I really like the pump on here. It's really nice, and overall I like the packaging. So this foundation comes in 1.01 fluid ounces. A traditional foundation is like 1 fluid ounce. This one's like 0.1 fluid ounces more than a traditional, which is nothing. So it's pretty much the size of a traditional foundation. The consistency of this is very full coverage, very creamy, as the name claims. And it has really great coverage. So that was one little tiny drop. So a little bit of this foundation goes a long way. I feel like one pump is enough to cover your entire face. Sometimes that's even too much. And you don't really need to layer it, I don't think. I feel like layering it makes it look cakey. So I think one pump is ideal for the entire face. Now if you start to layer it, you're gonna look like cake face. So I think one pump's just perfect. I'm just gonna talk about the claims on the box. So this says foundation redefined, ultimate coverage in a surprisingly weightless and breathable cream. A perfectly balanced distribution of pigment and water at uniquely high concentrations allows the formula to adapt to all skin types. Lightweight and oil-free, it creates a second skin effect of undetectable, flexible coverage with a natural long-wearing finish. It has 21% pigment, which ensures that uneven texture, redness, hyperpigmentation, and other imperfections are completely concealed. It has 22% water, which adds hydration and an elastic finish to prevent pigments from settling in lines, dryness, or pores. And that's pretty much what it claims on the box. So here's a little close-up of the box if you wanted to see that. Give you a little close-up of the, I don't know if I gave you a little close-up of that. So I do have a demo of me putting it on, so I'm going to show you that first, and then I will come back and tell you a little bit more about the foundation. So I've already put a moisturizer on. With this foundation, I feel like you do need a really good moisturizer, especially if your skin is a little less oily and a little bit more normal to dry. So I use this Acure Argan oil that I got at Sprouts. I really love this stuff. So I already have that all over my face. Next, I want to apply a facial primer or a pore blurring product. So I'm going to apply my Benefit Professional. This is the jumbo size, and I'm just going to put this all over my face before I put the foundation on, because I want something that minimizes my pores and fine lines. I probably got too much there, but, well, I got way too much. So I'm just going to press this into the skin. So as you can see, my skin has a lot of hyperpigmentation, lots of redness, discoloration. So I like a foundation that's going to cover all of that up. So I tend to go for more full coverage foundations, usually medium to full coverage. I don't really like sheer to light coverage foundations. I really like them to be medium to full. So with this foundation, I just like to shake it up, and then I'm going to apply one full pump to the back of my hand. First, I'll do this side of my face so you can see the difference in the coverage. So maybe I'll just do a half a pump on my hand first. And I like the pump because you can control how much product you want to squeeze out. So that is what it looks like. That's the consistency. And most of my foundation brushes are actually dirty right now, but I've tried different foundation brushes with this, and the majority of them work just fine. I've tried it with a beauty blender and I didn't like it that way. So it's just a matter of preference. So I'm just going to use my Sigma Flat Top Kabuki F80. It's all funky right now. So I'm just going to take the foundation and I'm just going to dot it on one side of my face. I've tried applying it different ways. I've tapped my brush into the foundation on my hand and then applied it. I've done it in sections, but I like to work quickly anyway with my foundation, so we're just going to do this way. Alright, so I just put it all over my face, and then I like to blend it out with the brush. And I like to do circular motions. So as long as you work fast, then it blends out just fine. Now if you work too slow, it is going to dry really quickly and it's going to be hard to blend. Alright, as you can see, it gives amazing coverage on my skin. Like, I don't need another layer. One coat is just perfectly fine. It covers all my hyperpigmentation, all the redness, all the discoloration. It helps kind of cover my acne scars. I have a little bit of acne scars, more on this side, as you'll see when I do this side of my face, but I do have a little bit on this side. So it really does give great full coverage. I really love the coverage of this. So that's what it looks like, half and half. Now this color I feel like is a really good dead on match to me. I know it looks extremely, extremely white. I might be able to go a shade darker, but I'd rather go lighter than darker. I feel like it matches my neck perfectly. Like, my face has so much hyperpigmentation in it that it looks darker than my neck. So I generally go for the lightest or the second to the lightest shade in all foundations. So I feel like it matches the rest of my skin perfectly. Now, I look like a ghost, but I am very pale, so I have to kind of bronze and do blush to kind of give me life back. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side of my face. I'm going to do it the same exact way. I'm just going to take a half a pump and just dot it all over. And I usually like to do my foundation before I do my eye makeup. That's just how I like to do it, but for this video, for this purpose, I'm also doing a tutorial today on this eye look with the new Kat Von D Monarch palette, so I wanted to do that before I applied the foundation, just in case I had fallout. So again, you have to work really quickly. And it has a matte finish. Alright, so you can still see my acne scars right here a little bit, but it covers up the discoloration from them, but it's not gonna like completely conceal them where you have a smooth surface. I mean, it's just not gonna do that. So I really love the coverage of this foundation. It's amazing. It really covers up all my redness, which I really like. So I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and then I'm gonna come back and tell you more about the foundation. So like I mentioned in the demo, it does dry fast, so you do have to work quickly. It is a matte finish full coverage foundation. I think it gives amazing coverage. It really covered up all my hyperpigmentation, all my redness, my discoloration. I do have a lot of that in my skin. I used to have acne, so my skin tone is not even at all. So I really want a foundation that's going to cover up all of my hyperpigmentation. And this foundation does that for me. So I really, really love the coverage of it. Like I said before, if you put more than one layer of this on, it's going to start looking cakey. So I definitely feel like one pump is ideal, one pump or less, because sometimes even one pump is too much for me. So, and it depends on your face too. If you have like a really tiny face or you want to shear it out, then less than a pump would be better. And then with this pump, you can do that. You can actually get less product than a full pump. So that's really nice. Oh, it does have 21% pigment in it. And I think that's more than most foundations have. And it says that it ensures that uneven texture, redness, hyperpigmentation, and other imperfections are completely concealed. I totally agree with that. I think it conceals all hyperpigmentation, redness, and uneven texture. Now it says it has 22% water, which adds hydration and an elastic finish to prevent pigments from settling in fine lines, dryness, and pores. I don't find that to be the case at all. I think you really have to prep your skin well before using this foundation, especially if you have more normal to dry skin, or you have large pores, or you have fine lines. You really have to prep your skin before putting this on. So for instance, for me, my skin it used to be more like combination to oily, but now it is a little bit more, I would say, combination to dry. My skin has changed a lot now in the summer months. I don't know if it's gonna become more oily. I assume it is. But for me, I've been using argan oil on my face for my moisturizer, and it has been helping a lot. Before I use this foundation, I make sure that I use that all over my face. I really want to moisturize well, so I suggest using a really good moisturizer, and then I also suggest using a really good like pore blurring product or a really good facial primer. So as you saw in the demo, I use the Benefit Professional, and I feel like that really helps minimize my pores and my fine lines, and it makes the foundation go on a lot smoother, and it helps prevent it from sinking into my pores and my fine lines, and also from accentuating my dryness, because I find that using this without really moisturizing my skin well, or using like a facial primer or a pore blurring product, I feel like it really accentuates my pores, my fine lines, and my dryness. So I've had mixed feelings about this. I feel like today it made my skin look pretty good, but I've had trouble with it in the past, really accentuating a lot of those other things that I just talked about. So that's why I've had mixed feelings about it, but I really wanted to get a feel for it, so I've been using it off and on for more than a month now, just to really see what works with it, what doesn't work. So I wouldn't recommend using this just on its own. I do highly suggest using a face primer or a pore blurring product with this. It will really make a difference in the way the foundation looks on your skin. Now, this is a full coverage matte foundation, and these types of foundations do tend to sink into pores, fine lines, and accentuate flaws. So you do have to be careful when using a full coverage matte foundation. I mean, most of them they accentuate those types of things. I just find that right now with all of my full coverage foundations. So I haven't been reaching for my matte foundations as much. Like I said, you really have to prep the skin before using this foundation. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of full coverage foundation, so it's not like it's just this one on its own. Another thing I wanted to mention is because it does accentuate fine lines, I do not like to apply too much under my under eye area. I like to do a very thin layer under my eyes, and then I don't like to put a concealer on top of it just because I feel like it causes it to sink more into the fine lines. So there's even been times where I apply the foundation and I kind of skip the under eye area, and then I do use concealer under the eye. So it's kind of like one or the other, but not both together, because then it cakes up too much and then it just accentuates everything under my eyes. So it says this foundation is for all skin types. Now, if you have extremely dry skin, I don't think this will work for you because my nose has been pretty dry. Today I feel like it's looking better, but this foundation has really accentuated the dryness in my nose. And even when I've used more dewy finish foundations, you could still see a little bit of the dryness on my nose, but not nearly as much as with this foundation. So if you have really dry skin, I just can't see this working for you because it's really going to accentuate your dryness. It kind of clings to all the dry patches. So if you have really oily skin, I'm not really sure how it's going to work either because my skin's not really oily right now, so I can't really attest to that, so I'm not really sure. I can tell you that it kind of performed differently for me depending on how my skin was that day. So I think it's pretty long lasting. I think it's a long lasting foundation for the most part. I worked really long shifts at work and it's pretty much lasted till the end of the day. Now I did have a little bit of shininess in my T-zone, which is normal. I don't feel like I've used any foundation where I didn't have any kind of shine poking through in my T-zone area. So I did have a little bit of shininess in my T-zone, but it wasn't extreme, it wasn't crazy. It was just kind of like a normal shine, which looks kind of natural at the end of the day, you know? I mean, it doesn't look like, I don't look like a grease ball, but I don't look extremely matte either. But then some days I felt like my skin was a little bit more oily, and it did seem a little bit more oily in the T-zone than on the other days. So it kind of just depended on my skin. Now I feel like this is gonna work best on kind of normal skin tones, normal to maybe semi-oily or semi-dry, but not to the end of the spectrum, like you're super dry or you're super oily. It might not work for those people, but it might work for you if you're kind of a little more towards the middle of the spectrum. Oh, I forgot to talk about the smell. Let's see, does it have a scent to it? It kind of has a little bit of a scent to it. It does have a little bit of a scent to it, but it's nothing that bothers me. I don't notice it when I put it on, so it doesn't bother me at all. I didn't even notice that it had a scent until right now when I smelled it. So one other thing I wanted to mention about the foundation is that it photographs beautifully. It really makes your skin look very smooth, like a porcelain doll. So I've used it in quite a few videos. So I've been wearing this I've worn this in a few videos. I've taken lots of pictures. I filmed with it so I could see the way it looked on camera and in pictures. And I think it photographs and films really nicely. Like I said, it makes your skin look really smooth and flawless on camera. It does not give a white cast when you take photos with a flash because it doesn't have an SPF. It doesn't say that it has an SPF in it, so you don't get that flashback, which is really nice. All right, so for the big question, would I purchase this foundation again when I run out? So I've had mixed emotions about the foundation. I've liked it, I didn't like it on some days. So over time, I've really figured out how to make this foundation work the best. And that is basically really moisturizing your skin and prepping your skin with a primer before using it. That is the best way to make it work. So, you know, there were some days where I didn't like it so much and then other days where I did like it, and I've always had mixed feelings about it. But since I've used it for a longer period of time and I've really figured out how to use it the best way, I think I would purchase it again. It's not like my holy grail foundation or anything like that, but I do tend to reach for matte full coverage foundations more often than anything else. Right now I'm kind of more into foundations that are a little bit more satin to dewy just because my skin has been so dry. but typically I do love my matte full coverage foundations. Those are the ones that I reach for the most. Those are the ones I buy the most. But my skin seems to be changing a little bit, so I'm kind of dipping into a little bit of a different pool now of foundations. And the other thing is I really want to see how it performs during summertime when my skin does get a little bit more oily. So I'm kind of looking forward to the summer and testing it out then. Overall, I am liking this foundation, but it's not my holy grail. It's not one that I would use every day, but I am glad that I have it in my collection. I do like it. Now, I don't think it's going to work for everybody. It says it's for all skin types, but I definitely don't feel like it's going to be for all skin types. So that's it. If I missed anything, if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. I feel like I didn't really sell you on it. I'm not even really trying to sell you on it. I'm not telling you to go buy this foundation because I don't think it's going to work for everybody. But the one thing I will say is if your local Sephora doesn't carry this foundation or doesn't carry Becca, so you can't get a sample and test it out, then I would highly recommend that you just buy it online. And if you don't like it, return it. That's what I do. I do that all the time. Sephora has a really good return policy. So if you don't like any of the products that you purchase from there, you can return it. No questions asked. They will take it back. So that's my suggestion. That's what I was going to do. I bought this online. If I didn't like it, I would return it. And I had thought about returning it a couple times because I just wasn't feeling it a few times. But like I said, I've kind of figured out how to make it work the best. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If I forgot anything, if you guys have any more questions about it, just leave your questions down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And thank you guys so much for watching, as you always do. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. Bye.